Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining us today. So, before we start, I'd like to see a show of hands. See how many of you have been to Startup Grind before. Okay, great. We have a good mix, and we have some new people in the community, so welcome to our community. My name is Gabriel. I'm a community builder and connector in the tech community. I've been doing this for over 9 years, and been part of the Startup Grind community for also a while, but just started recently joined the team and organizing the events. Tonight's event is in collaboration with a company called Publicize, and I'll take you through everything. But before, I'd like to give you a little bit of background and context on who we are. So if you don't know Startup Grind is the world's largest community for startups in the world. Yes, so it's for startups, founders, investors, and creators. Basically, how we connect the community is through events, through conferences, and we have chapters all over the world. We feature London entrepreneurs monthly through our own non-profit activities. So, to tell you a little bit about our values consist on helping others, on giving first, on entrepreneur education, and it's about connection and inspiration. So we encourage people to come to the events, to learn, to connect with others, to basically connect with people first, and then also create connections for business as well. So our team, we have Prem, who's currently not with us. James, also, sorry. We have Sam over here. Where is Sam? Sam is just at the back. Well, myself. And we have our newest team member, Matt, over there. So today, let me take you to today. We are doing a pitch competition. Are you all excited about it? Can I get a round of... Yes. Amazing. We need to keep that enthusiasm throughout the whole session because, you know, all these founders are coming here to share their products, to basically get feedback from this amazing panel of judges. So let's encourage them and inspire them as well. So, yes, so we're going to meet our judges in a moment. Then we're going to do the pitches. Then we're going to do a short Q&A. And we're going to move on to networking and drinks. So simple. Then before we finish, I'll tell you about the next event, so that you can start putting them on your calendars on the 22nd of August. Where to find us? startupgrind.com/London. That's where you're going to find all of our events and be able to sign up. Now, before we get started, we'd like to give a big thank you to our sponsors and partners, which make all of these events possible. So we have AUR+A, we have Howard Kennedy, and we have Monpack. We're going to hear a little bit about them before we start. And we have event partners. So Runway East is this amazing space. Supreme Factory is about accelerating companies digitally, so you can check supremefactory.net. And our amazing video crew that is going to be filming today, because we always also publish the events after. So thank you to our partners. And of course, this event is in collaboration with Publicize. We have co-founder Craig, who traveled all the way from Barcelona today for this event. So he'll tell you a little bit more about Publicize later. Now, before we get started, just a quick introduction to to a couple of our partners. So we have AUR+A. We have Rebecca here. So give her. Here we go.
Cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca. I'm part of the commercial team at AUR+A. Been with AUR+A for 2.5 years. Who is AUR+A? Let's go. Some key facts and figures. We're basically a fintech, and what we actually do is help startups like yourselves scale globally. What that means is we give you the infrastructure that enables you to move into a US market, move into an EU market with a lot more ease than you would with traditional banking. I mean, I know as a consumer, my bank partner does like to put me on hold quite often, and it's hell when you're trying to expand internationally. Obviously, this is just to prove that we are legitimate. But what can we actually do at AUR+A? So we manage the entire transaction lifecycle. That means that from collecting funds globally, multi-currency accounts, being able to collect revenue from debit, credit cards, managing those funds internationally. So that's your FX, your transfers, issuing cards. One of the biggest things that you want to do as a founder, travel to those places as well. Having that whole infrastructure behind you gives you the ability to focus on the most important thing, which is your business, and remove all the costs that are associated with international banking. If you've got any questions about international payments, myself and my colleague Yolanda will be here till the end, so feel free to come and speak to us.
Okay, and we also have Alex from Howard Kennedy, just to say a few words.
Hi everyone, I'm Alex from Howard Kennedy, which is a law firm, and within that law firm we have the Howard Kennedy Ignite Group, which is specifically targeting, helping and developing startups and founders. So, there's a slide, I didn't actually know that. Great. Right. Yeah, we're delighted to be partners with Startup Grind, so thank you very much for having us. We're also perfectly located just around the corner. If you picture the view of the Shard from London Bridge, there is a fairly brutal 80s brown Gothic building. You're welcome. What do the Ignite team do? So we work very closely, as I say, with founders. We help startups grow and develop. Here today we have employment experts, we have trademark experts, and I myself work with VCs and private equity and angels to help you with your funding rounds. So any questions, please come and see us. I'm going to ask people from Howard Kennedy just to put their hands up. Keep them up. Everyone soak it in. Any questions, come and find us. We would love to speak to you. And good luck with all the pitches. Looking forward to them. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And if you're curious about seeing their building, next month we're going to be hosting our event. So you can mark it on your calendars, 22nd of August at the Howard Kennedy offices. So let's move on into the next part. So before we do that, we have a third partner who couldn't be here today. It's called Monpac, and basically they have services for accounting for companies, and they have a special offer for startups. But worry not, we're going to send all of this over email later, so you get it afterwards. So without further ado, I'd like to start getting on with the competition. And for this, we have our moderator, Craig, who's here, as I said, from Publicize. He'll give us an introduction of what's going to happen. But let me take you through a little bit. So why we're doing this. So as part of Startup Grind, we like to support the ecosystem. And one way of doing this is being able to provide these opportunities for companies to get to pitch their products and their ideas, get feedback from amazing speakers and panelists and so on. But we also, our audience also get a lot of insights from that. With a lot of our audience, can I see show of hands who in the audience has a startup or work for startups? Quite a few of you. So I hope that everything that you get today is good learning. Today, there's actually going to be a prize. And the prize, we will announce it at the end, the winner. It's a 1 month of free PR services valued at £2,000. So maybe one of the 6 will get it. And then the next part is basically the pitches will go 1 by 1, 2-minute pitches in 3 minutes. But Craig will explain everything. So I'll hand the microphone over to Craig, and you can take it from here.
Thanks. Let's see if this microphone's going to come out every 30 seconds. First of all, thank you so much to Gabriel. Thank you to Startup Grind and all of the partners as well. My name's Craig Corbett. I'm a co-founder and I'm a partner at Publicize. We are a PR and digital marketing agency based out of Barcelona, Medellin, and we also have teams in the US as well. We tend to work with early stage startups up to around kind of Series B. We work with a lot of VC companies and accelerators. And our main markets are Spain, Latin America, the US, and we do have some clients in the UK as well. So as Gabriel mentioned, I flew in from Barcelona this morning. As you can see by my face and my voice, I'm definitely not from Barcelona, but have been living there for a while. So last time I was actually back in London was 2019 to do an event with Startup Grind, to do a PR workshop. So it's really nice to see, that we can continue partnering together, and I hope to do so more in the future. So first of all, thanks so much for coming. I know it's a very busy event schedule in London, so we appreciate you making the time. I hope it's going to be of value to our pitching startups today. And of course, thank you so much to our esteemed media judges here as well. Connect is an event that we've been running since around 2022. We run about 3 or 4 of these a month online, generally focusing on a particular vertical. So for example, fintech or health or whatever. We have been rolling out our in-person events. This is our first one in the UK, which we're very excited about. We did one recently in Barcelona in Spain. We've done a number of them in Latin America, in Buenos Aires, Mexico City, etc. So we hope to do more, but thank you so much for coming. So before I explain a little bit about how this is really going to work for our pitchers, I will introduce our media judges. So today, we're very lucky to have with us some of the biggest publications out there, from Reuters to the Daily Mail, Digital Frontier, The Next Web. We were supposed to have an attendee from the Financial Times as well, but unfortunately he had a family emergency, so he wasn't able to make it. But yeah, fair enough, that's what I said. So yeah, hopefully he'll be able to make it to the next one. But we're very thankful to our judges for making the time. I'll just very quickly run through who we've got with us here today, and then we're going to do 1 or 2 questions as a kind of very short Q&A panel, just to offer some advice maybe to some of the people that are pitching today. So today with us we have Sharon Kimathi, who's the creator, the editor of the Reuters Sustainable Switch newsletter and the Sustainable Business vertical on Reuters.com. She joined Reuters after a stint as the Inclusive Economies editor at Thomson Reuters Foundation. She enjoys writing about the intersection of climate and social injustice, and has previously covered finance and markets for FinTech Futures and other publications. So thanks for joining us, Sharon.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to hearing all about your fantastic platforms. I'm sure they're very insightful. Just be relaxed, calm, and just, be yourselves, and I'm sure we're going to enjoy it.
Fantastic, thank you. Next up, we've got Thomas Macaulay, I hope I pronounced that right, who's a senior reporter at The Next Web, which is a news and events company owned by the Financial Times. They just had their flagship conference in June in Amsterdam, which if anyone ever has the chance to attend, you should definitely do. Thomas covers European tech, focusing on AI, cybersecurity, and government policy. And before joining The Next Web, Thomas was the senior online editor at IDG, the International Data Group. So thanks for joining us, Thomas.
Sure, thanks for having me. Not quite an FT journalist, but my company's owned by the FT, so I can sort of pretend to be today, maybe.
Issues with that one, but all right. Next up, we have Sophia. Epstein is an editor at Digital Frontier, a tech-focused media and events company that reports on the future of business, finance, and culture. Sophia covers tech, business, and has a special passion for behavioral economics. Her work has been published in publications such as Wired, the BBC, and Weapon of Reason, amongst others. Thank you, Sophia. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I'm also really excited to hear the pitches, and I'll speak to you soon.
And last but very much not least, we have Jim Norton, who's the former technology editor at the Daily Mail, the highest circulating British daily newspaper, which reaches millions of reachers monthly. Having covered some of the most influential technology companies of our generation, Jim was also shortlisted for the Science and Technology Journalist of the Year at the 2022 Press Awards. Very nice. His reporting has also been featured in The Telegraph and other major publications. So, Jim, I know you've been a part of a few of these events, but thank you for coming to our first in-person one.
Thank you very much. I'm not really sure what else to say, apart from maybe I need to update my picture. Looks anyway. One day.
It does have a certain 19th century vibe to it.
Yeah, it's got a strange colouring.
Well, I'd also like to think I maybe lost a bit of weight since this one was taken, but let's not point on that one. Cool. So before we move on to the exciting part, which is the pitches, we are going to have just a very brief Q&A with the judges. One of the reasons that we started doing these Connect events, Publicize, our team, we're a little bit different from other agencies in the fact that probably 95% of our team never studied PR. Most of us actually started off our careers in journalism or connected with the media. So as we have built a company, we have tried to do things very differently. The media landscape is changing. I'm sure we all know that. Journalists themselves, newsrooms are being cut. So we've seen more newsroom cuts in the last 2 years than in history. They're having to do a lot of work with less resources. So one of the objectives of these events is really so we can create a dialogue and create a kind of space where startup founders can be hearing directly from journalists. Because ultimately, as someone that's worked in journalism, people still do things which are super annoying for journalists all the time. And yeah, these guys understand that. So a couple of just kind of broad questions that could be of use to our pitchers today. So in my experience, when people send me a press release or a pitch, they tend to kind of jump into talking exactly what they want to talk about. So it's lots of buzzy terms to describe these technologies, lots of superlatives about, the best SaaS product ever, whatever. Is there anything that you feel that you would like to actually hear more when startups are pitching you? Anything kind of outside of the norm to do with what their product is and what it does?
Okay, I'll go first. Yeah, I think it's fair to say we're probably all getting more time poor as the demands go on. I would say for me it's nothing too exciting. It's more just be very concise when you get in touch. So with an email, just think about how you can sum up your company within 2 sentences. Personalize your email, so look at what I've done before. I don't want that to sound arrogant, but just have a look at what sort of topics I cover. And then also just give me some context about where you sit in the market. So are you the first doing something? What's your USP? And then invite me out for a coffee, because it's always nice to get to know people personally, I think.
Yeah, pretty similar from me. I think Digital Frontier, we're pretty new. We're a startup as well. So kind of the main thing for me is that what I noticed from people contacting me is that they just haven't looked at it. I think the main thing is see what we're writing about, look to see who our audience is. We're writing for future-focused leaders, entrepreneurs, venture capitalists, people who are kind of very in the know. They already know what's going on. So we kind of want to be able to be talking about something that people haven't already covered. So basically, what's your company doing that's bringing things forward? How are you kind of evolving a sector? Again, like Jim said, be concise. Great subject line in the email is lovely. And also, I guess, getting to know me and my team outside of just the inboxes. Coming to events like this, we're going to be doing events as well, coming to events like that, lots of different things to kind of meet up outside of the kind of, here's the thing I want to kind of sell you over email space.
If you have more to say, yeah, but we don't.
Oh no, it's quite similar. Yeah, sort of focus on telling the story. The subject line has to catch your attention immediately, and then the first line of the email has to maintain it. But I think, very similar to what Kimathi said.
Fantastic. Anything else to add, Sharon?
I would say for me, I'm mainly looking for things about sustainability. So if you can do that in a non-salesy, non-marketing, non-PR way that actually addresses a topic that's sort of impacting our world currently, because at Reuters we mainly focus on global issues and global news. So how does your blah interact with, let's say there's an extreme weather event that's been happening, or there's some sort of climate change regulation, just stuff like that. Just keep it nice, brief, but also in terms of what's going on with the actual news. So try and link it to the daily news, please. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I think that was a good intro question. So next slide. Or?
Yes. So
All right. So Gabriel mentioned this very briefly before. There are going to be a couple of prizes. There's going to be 2 winners, effectively. There's going to be the winner from the judges. The judges are going to be scoring live with every person, as I've only mentioned to them 150 times so far. Apart from that, there will also be an audience winner as well. So Gabriel's going to very briefly explain what we need to do with that.
Yes, so today we are actually gamifying the whole competition because we want to know if the audience agrees with the judges. So take your phones out and get on this link. Do not vote yet. So I don't want to see any votes just yet. But basically, the whole idea is after the pitches end, you can vote for your favorite. and we're going to choose the audience favorite before we announce the main winner. We will show this QR code one more time after everybody pitches, so don't worry if you don't catch it right now. And then I'll leave you Craig to continue with this.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so now we get to the nitty-gritty. How does this actually work? So this is going to be quite simple. We're going to have 6 startups. Each of them are going to have 2 minutes to share some slides, give their pitch to the journalist. We're going to be focusing on 3 main things. One is going to be their business model. You know, how do they plan to make this startup into a profitable business? The problem they are addressing. You know, how are they creating impact? How are they solving a problem? And then finally, you know, anything that could be considered appealing to the media. So what's your secret sauce? What are you doing different? You know, try and make as much storytelling as possible. We're going to be super strict with the 2 minutes. Gabriel has this timer. It's probably going to make a really annoying beeping noise. And if it doesn't, I will launch myself onto the stage and grab the microphone off you, just to not stress you out any further. After that, the judges will have we'll have 3 minutes to give you some feedback. Any questions that they might have, anything that can help them to understand your startup and your story a little bit better. Okay? So, with no further ado, we can get started. So our first startup pitching today is going to be Josephine. Josephine from AUR+A. Okay, so best of luck and a big round of applause, please.
Thank you, everyone. So my name is Josephine Declerck. I'm French and British, I swear. So I'm the founder and CEO of AUR+A. So what is the problem? Well, every time we attend an event, we wait, we queue. Why is that? It's because event organizers, they still scan the QR code manually. I went to CES in Vegas, Paris, and I saw that in San Francisco as well. What else is a problem? Well, that is clearly not eco-friendly, and it's only been the last 3 months. So what is my solution? Where we have an app called AUR+A, and AUR+A replaces the QR codes using face recognition. With AUR+A, we can scan up to 20 people at once, and it costs 1/3 of what it usually costs for event organizers. And then what we use augmented reality to tell you who is who around you for the attendees. Here is how it works. If it plays. Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. So this is the app. This is my profile. It finds me. You can click on the link to find my LinkedIn. And then you go back to the app, and then you can start exploring. We will find Elena, again with the blue dot. And then you click on her profile appears, and you can you can connect with her on LinkedIn. We are a B2B business model. That means that we're helping events. We're partnering with Google already. It's tomorrow here in London. We're GDPR compliant. This is our team, and this is what I really wanted to show you. You remember this scene? Well, this is what we're working on. With smart glasses, we will be able to tell you who is walking towards you at an event really, really soon. And that's us. Thank you very much, everyone. Woo!
Very nice, and with 7 seconds to spare, congratulations, great pitch. Okay, so now we will have 3 minutes of time for our journalist panel to ask any questions or give any feedback that they might have, please.
Thank you so much for such a great, speedy presentation. My question is mainly about sort of the racial injustice that's been seen already with some use of facial recognition software. So how does yours differ to some of the ones that are already out there that kind of can't really tell from different races, and they sort of just, technically they're not quite great there yet?
We're really early stage, so right now it's not us, because we use augmented reality. Is like, or face recognition is really like artificial intelligence. If we were to start our own artificial intelligence system, we couldn't. We would be OpenAI. We can't. So we rely on what's existing. But it's a very good point, and you're right, and we are trying to do that. But we also believe that we are a solution by telling people what you do and who you are, then we can change the cliche around people. Because, sometimes we don't know and we have cliches about people. And so I believe that it helps in another way, but it does.
Yeah. Oh, you want to go? No, go for it. Thank you very much. I thought that was, really enjoyed it. Very fast-paced, but it was good. Got to the point. I think it goes back to what I was saying at the start about really, getting in there and explaining exactly what the problem is straight away. I was at Mobile World Congress earlier this year and had that exact problem when we were all stuck outside for ages and it was real faff. So, I feel the pain and I back it. I think there's, what I was going to say earlier was actually, it's always good to humanise your product when you're trying to sell it. And I think you've got a great way of doing that. Have you tried to speak to the press yet? Or are you still very much early stages?
No, we haven't because we're very early stage. But I also know that it's a great product for the press because it's very visual. And so it's very, so no, not too much.
Okay, the other thing I just want to ask, I love the queuing angle. The other side, I can see just one problem in terms of how many people have the Google Glasses when they go networking. Is it quite awkward to have your phone up against someone? Is that a challenge that you're going to...
So right now, it's only on the mobile app. We're working on the smart glasses because smart glasses are coming and we can't wait. We're a bit too excited. That's the founder. But right now, if you have your phone, it's really like looking at your messages. From here, I can scan everyone here and I will have the name of everyone.
So it's from afar, so you don't... Because I was imagining you have to go right up to someone.
No, I don't need to go and do that, sorry. I don't need to go and do that. No, we were very close at an event, but yeah, we don't need. From here, the face recognition will work for actually quite the room. Probably not everyone at the back, and also we still have issues when people are slightly on the side, because we don't ask for the 3D like Apple will do, but right now we only ask for one selfie, so yeah.
Cool, yeah, no, I was going to say it's a lot easier than going right up to people, but yeah. You've answered my question, thank you.
One quick thing. You said you're GDPR compliant. What kind of other privacy things do you have in there to ensure that you're not kind of taking people's faces?
So you give us your data. Right. So when we sign an event like Startup Grind tonight, we would partner with them. So they would ask you to use Aura to do the checking. The idea is to have one app to go to all the events you're attending. So if you go to London Startup Week, you will have the same app. So it's only one, and then we can even use the photo that you gave on your LinkedIn profile. So that's all we have. Encrypted data, we don't have your data, we don't have your photo, and everything is stored in the UK in Europe or in the US, depending on your location. And you can delete everything from the app on the day of the event, after the event, if you want to.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Can I get a big round of applause? Thank you so much. Okay, if you can stand right here. Perfect. So our next startup is JESR, and this is Elias.
Hey, my name is Elias. I'm the co-founder and CTO of JESR. JESR started when my co-founders and I, originally from Lebanon, from a country that doesn't get a lot of attention, from a community that's not famous, realized that there's a huge gap and problem when it comes to the investment journey of a founder. We realized that founders, they don't have the tools to actually research potential investors. And that would lead to actually taking so much time to actually secure the first check. So you're hearing me? Yeah. Okay. So why this is happening? There's a lack of data transparency. It's actually super hard to get information about potential investors. And if you get information about potential investors, it costs a lot of money. It also takes a huge manual labor and manual effort to research every potential investors that you have. That's where JESR comes in. We created a due diligence platform that helps founders study potential investors. And you heard me right. We're the other way around. So we study different aspects of a potential investors. We use Gen AI, we use machine learning predictive model to be able to analyze different sections of an investor's, going from his portfolio, his financials, but also his reputation and legal study. We firmly believe that this should be in the hands of every founders. And this is why we're operating on a freemium basis model. The tool is going to be free for everyone, as a base due diligence, obviously. We provide predictive models as a premium features. We're also partnering up with third parties to include this tool into the product. We want this to be in every founders, protecting the founders, making sure they can make informed decisions about their future. Thank you.
Thanks for the presentation. Could you provide an example of how this might work in practice, sort of the query and then the response that would be provided to the user?
Yeah, so first of all, so we use machine learning, but it's not only machine learning, it's also data analytics. So a founder will come up to the platform, research the potential investor or have already some prospect in mind. And when he's ready, using his information, we create a due diligence report, which is an entire dashboard that have the analysis of the portfolio of the investors tailored for the founders. You can also scroll through the reputation, what previously founder has said, and it's all tailored to what the founder needs. Let's say you're a founder, you're focusing on, I don't know, diversity, you're focusing, if you're a woman, you want to see if the investors actually invested in women-led ventures, which is a problem we're commonly seeing. If you're underrepresented founders like me, you want to understand the portfolio of the investor, if it's the right for you, can go to the platform and using Gen AI, take this data with your data to be analyzed and predict if it's the right one for you and for your startup.
Thanks very much. I love your passion and energy for your product. I think it's great, and it's a nice story as well how you came up with it. I don't really know this area at all, and I was just wondering, is this a very original idea? I mean, is there anything like it out there already, or is this just your idea yourself?
So we're proud to say we're the first investor due diligence platform. However, there are companies that are targeting, for example, reviews, that are targeting like the portfolio as a base level, but we're a founder-centric platform. We're making it work for founders, and we're focusing on helping the founders. There are data companies, however, it costs a lot of money, which is kind of ironic because founders don't have money they're raising around. So we're proud to say we're the first investor due diligence platform that give access to every early stage founders and put it in the hands of every founders.
Great answer, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I've seen it kind of working the other way around where people who are investing are using generative AI to like investigate the founders that potentially they could invest in, but not the other way around. My question is, how early stage are you? Like, do you have any people working? Do you have any customers already? You're saying that that the kind of women investment stuff is something that you're looking at. Is that because of like how big is your customer base at the moment?
Excellent question. Sorry, I didn't have time to go through this in my pitch. But basically, we're in beta testing. So we currently have around 40 startups. We're working to make it founder-centric, and I'm going to repeat because we're working for founders. So we're working with them to get the feedback necessary to make the platform for them. And we're planning to launch by the end of September. And we're launching hard because we want to get it out everywhere and get it to every founder out there.
Just one quick one. Thank you so much for that. My one is about how it actually integrates with the investor side of it. So do they give that data willingly, or how does it work?
So 2 things about data. First, we're targeting third parties, data companies, to buy the data from them. But we're also working with the investor to willing investors. Not everybody's going to be willing. But we made sure to make the reports tailored that hides the investment strategy of the investor. So we're not against investors. We're going to provide for them better deal flow. It's actually going to help them. You hear this angel speaking that they receive 2,000 decks per day. We're trying to make it that they receive 200 and study the startups that actually falls into their investment strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And those are his QR codes. You forgot to show them. Okay, so our next startup is called Luna. And I'd like to bring Jasmine on stage. So Jasmine, if you can stand here closer to the screen, that'd be great. Here is your clicker and the microphone.
Thank you. Did you know that you can stop your period with a shot of lime juice, tagine powder, and salt water? That girls shed their skin every month on their period, and that you can lose a whopping 8 pounds in 3 hours by drinking 32 ounces of salt water? Well, you probably didn't, but that's because these are the latest health trends surfacing on the next generation social media feeds. Fake news is spreading faster than real news. Teenagers today, they're still not learning from the resources they're given about health and well-being at school. They're not talking to their parents, and instead they're talking to their friends and using TikTok as their primary search engine. This isn't good enough. I'm Jazz, and together with my co-founder Joe, we're building Luna, the world's first digital health and well-being companion for teenage girls to get them through adolescence. On Luna, teenagers can learn through curated content created by experts. They can ask experts an anonymous question, and they get access to their first emotion and period tracker. We've enabled nearly 100,000 teenagers in 162 different countries to take charge of their health and well-being. Teenagers, they're not a niche subject matter. We're talking about the smartphone-free child movement, the increasing teen mental health crisis, TikTok being banned. There is so much to talk about in the media. And we've already had a little bit of earned media just because of the profile we're building, and we'd love to lean into this more. We are not a charity, we are a VC-backed business, and we make money through subscriptions that both parents and schools are paying for, and also brands and partners who want to collaborate with us to get access to this audience. Soon, every teen, parent and school will want access to a resource like Luna. We are only at the tip of the teen health and well-being crisis. So back the brand that's already got the members, the partners and the traction behind them. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for such an interesting presentation. My one is about, obviously, the data that you collect is quite sensitive. So how are you ensuring that you comply with regulations and also with parental controls? Because it's a very touchy area.
Yeah, so number one, with our very first pot of £5,000 grant, we got everything scoped out by legal lawyers from a tech perspective and privacy perspective. But second of all, we actually don't collect that much data, so we don't take their name. If they want to give us their age, they can, but that's actually it. And third to that, all of our data is kept in different databases. So God forbid, there is a leak, you won't actually be able to connect it to a user at all. We don't sell the data, it's all kept in Luna. We only use the information we get actually to provide insights back to the parents. So here's what 13-year-olds have been asking this summer. They're asking about body hair, swimming in their periods. Here's some, content to help you with those conversations. So that's how we're viewing things. We take it super seriously at Luna.
I suppose sort of a connected question, as well as it being quite sensitive data, it's quite complicated medical issues potentially. Can you talk a little bit about the founding team and the people involved and the expertise they bring to this product?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, we are not a diagnostic tool. We actually are more of a consumer edtech platform. So we're here to encourage conversation. So for example, if somebody's asked us, look, I'm having really heavy periods, what shall I do? We could say, here are some red flags. We really encourage you going to speak to a medical professional. We're not here to tell you you have polycystic ovaries or endometriosis. In terms of the founding team, it's me and my co-founder Joe. We actually have careers in consulting, but we're just passionate women who couldn't believe that something has been built, not been built for this generation, and we didn't want to let another generation of women have to go through this. So there are 6 of us in the core team, but we work with a community of medical experts across gynecology, dermatology, psychology, all on paid freelance contracts to create the articles, create the content, and also answer questions for us. We've now had over 50,000 questions, Thomas, and so we've actually been able to lean into AI because 75% of them have been almost repeat word for word. At the moment, we still have somebody sense checking everything until our model is 100% perfect, but I think that just shows the demand of a platform like Luna.
Great. I really enjoyed your presentation. I really love people who create safe spaces on the internet. And my question is, like, you said you're not a charity, but how actually are you making money from this?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have premium memberships, which parents are paying for on behalf of their teenagers, but schools are also buying memberships as a pastoral provision because the education in schools still hasn't really changed since I was at school 15 years ago. Alongside that, paid partnerships and collaboration. So working with different brands who want access to this audience. So for example, a lady who's running a teen mental health camp in the summer wanted access to our audience, so paid us to be part of is going to pay us to be part of our newsletter. So also working with brands who want access to our audience.
And we're of time, so maybe I'll just try and talk to you after. But I thought it was a really powerful start to the presentation. I think it's a fantastic idea. And I've written a lot about this sort of thing, social media, etc. So I'd love to talk to you after, for sure.
Thank you, thanks. I'm feeling terrible, but I will be, in case I'm a bit shaky.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And yes, I love the feedback coming from that side. So the next startup is called SuperScout, and it's another Gabriel here. So if you like to stand here, and you know the drill.
Yep. Hello, everyone. I'm Gabriel, the founder of SuperScout. We are time-saving software for locations in film and TV. So think of the last film or show that you watched. Did you notice how many backdrops there were? Every one of those was a location or studio. And to find a final location, someone has to go and find hundreds of options and then narrow it down to one. And that's the job of a location manager, which is our customer. They track thousands of locations every year, and they currently keep that information on Dropbox, spreadsheets, and in their heads. So they spend more than 400 hours every year trying to search through, organize, and share these locations. So we're building SuperScout, which is time-saving software which will save them hundreds of hours every year. We have an app that helps them take photos and notes anywhere in the world and automatically upload to their database. We use AI to go through all of that, keyword things, and organize it for them so they don't have to do that, and a very simple search to use natural language to search. And then we have a user interface that makes it easy to organize and share. So why me? I have degrees in filmmaking and computer programming, so yeah. And then I already built this, which is Airbnb for locations. It was talking to customers of that we discovered this need in December. We built an MVP in January, and then we showcased here at the Berlin Film Festival in February. Since then, we've raised £100,000, won a 50K grant, and gained support from major organizations around the UK. And we've built a waitlist of over 200 people, including people who've worked on Star Wars, Mission Impossible, and Bridgerton. We are currently in negotiations to close our round with a key investor, and we're going to be launching a beta in December. Thank you very much.
Sure. I love the idea. I was just curious about the sort of scale of the market potentially. What have you done to validate that and sort of, yeah, I mean, how can you see it scaling?
I mean, yeah, so it's software. People pay us a monthly subscription for it. There are roughly, so production companies and location managers pay us a subscription for it. Production companies, there's about 500,000 in the world. Location managers, there are no numbers online, but there's an estimate of about 250,000 in the world. So it's kind of a good kind of angel investment. We're not VC backed. We're not looking to be VC backed. Angel investment like market. And then from building this software, we will find a lot of other opportunities within the film industry to like kind of tap into, so it can grow from there. Does that answer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, love the presentation, very insightful. I was wondering mainly about how do you keep your data fresh and accurate? Because I know some of these locations could change, extreme weather, all that stuff, you know, building, construction. So how do you maintain it?
Well, the interesting thing here is that it's not our data. So we're providing the software to the location manager, and it's up to them to fill it out with their own data. We're kind of replacing Dropbox for them. So you don't necessarily need up-to-date data. We have location managers who we're in talks with who've been in the industry 20 years. They have 20 years of a database that they struggle to search through. And the things from 20 years ago, yes, it's not relevant. The photos probably look different, but they know, they have a rough sense of what the building looks like, and they're like, oh, that could be a good fit for us, and they'll go back and scout it again if it's a fit. But right now in their own Dropbox, they can't find it. So we're just helping with the finding bit. Thanks.
I just have a clarification question. So when the database is built, are like all the customers able to access all of the locations, or is it like an individual person's individual thing?
Today it's individual. We've had a number of people ask for a joint system, but only for some of their locations. So we will build out a marketplace where people will be able to list them publicly and share them with the world. We've actually had film commissions like Costa Rica and Barcelona and a few other places ask that they could list their locations, their country locations, in a global like marketplace. So we will get to that. But right now, the problem is so important to their own private data. We're starting with private, and then we'll expand.
I don't really have any questions, but I thought it was a very good presentation. Yeah, it's one of those ones where I think maybe I need to sort of sit down with you and actually sort of and talk to you about it. You know, sometimes in terms of getting advice and talking to the media, this sounds like one that I'd like to sit down and we can discuss it and come up with stuff like that.
Well, happy to take you to a coffee if you want.
We'll do it. Yeah, I would love a coffee. That sounds great. Yeah, cool. It's in the diary.
Okay, well, thank you very much. There we go. And we are ready for our next startup. It's called Tala Thrive. And this is Sonia, so give her a round of applause. Yeah, you know the drill.
So it's exhausting to educate your therapist. We created Tala Thrive so you don't have to spend your whole session explaining cultural nuances like meddling aunties and being force-fed and body-shamed at the same time. Did you know that $1 trillion is the cost of the global economy due to depression and anxiety? And 1 in 4 people in the UK will experience a mental health problem every year. And yet 50% of people drop off from their therapist within the first 3 sessions. This number is worse for people of diverse cultural backgrounds because we experience challenges such as racism, cultural identity issues, colorism, and more. So introducing Tala Thrive. We match you to therapists and coaches who understand your culture, language, or religion for culturally competent care. We do this through video calls and self-led programs. We're the first platform in Europe and only to match based on culturally competent care. So I'm Sonia, the founder and CEO. I'm Australian born and raised of South Asian heritage. I've lived in 7 countries. I've worked in venture capital and been a startup mentor. I also have a degree in psychology, and still time and time again, I've had to pay to educate my therapist about my cultural background. When I first posted about Tala Thrive on LinkedIn, I got more than 120 inbox messages from strangers, most of them telling me their story and why they needed our platform. We take a commission on the video calls, and we also do a monthly subscription model for individuals as well as corporates for employee benefits. Later, we'll look at insurance and government rebates. We want to scale fast and use our first mover advantage to achieve our 18 million revenue by 2026. We've now onboarded over 40 therapists and coaches. They speak 20 languages between them and different cultural backgrounds. Our story resonates with a lot of people, and as an example, we just closed our crowdfunding campaign and we were massively oversubscribed with nearly 200 investors. Most of them, obviously, were all of them believing in our business investment, but also most of them believing and needing our platform. So help us and many others thrive and not just survive.
Thank you very much. That was really good. That was, what an amazing idea. I just wanted to ask, so just to clarify, so this is B2B, is this through like companies, or can I, as just a normal person, do this? Is it both, or?
Yeah, so it's both. So we're launching in September. We have a long wait list on our website for consumers. So we'll launch them first. And then corporates, we're looking at corporate partnerships as well now. So we have a partnership looking at with HSBC later this year. But yeah, it's both. Okay,
and in terms of costs for just an individual, how much is it, and how's that compared to sort of normal rates?
Yeah, so we're as affordable as we can possibly be. So for the video calls, we're looking around £79 for a 45-minute session. So yeah, it's all standardized pricing as well, so you're not picking based on price. However, we're going to be doing a monthly subscription model for our self-led programs. And then that way we can access more people that can't afford therapy.
Cool, that's great. Yeah, good luck with it.
Thank you.
Hi, yeah, really enjoyed the presentation. I'm really interested in the kind of B2B side. What was that always part of the plan to kind of go in and be part of an insurance package for a company, or is that something that you brought in later?
No, yeah. So I guess with the background of VC was something I thought about from the start. It just helps us scale massively. And also, to be fair, like we shouldn't have to pay for this out of pocket if possible. So there's also countries like Australia, for example, where the government rebate is a lot easier than the NHS, for example. So yeah, we're trying to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. So yeah, employee benefits is a big thing. And to be fair, because we're the first one in Europe, they actually don't have anything to offer their people of different cultural backgrounds. So they actually really love us as well. Big D and I tick.
Yeah, thanks. Love the idea and the presentation. I was a bit curious, how do you sort of align the cultural fit with the therapeutic style, so to ensure that they get the kind of treatment they want, as well as a therapist that sort of is culturally a good fit for them?
Yeah, so basically our therapists and coaches, so the general thing is that you usually, you go to a therapist, you try and find one here. A lot of them don't understand your cultural background of Asian parents, for example. But the thing is that then people tend to find a therapist back home. And then they don't understand what it's like for you to live in the Western world or as a minority where you are. So our therapists have different cultural backgrounds and different religious beliefs, but they're based in the UK or they're based in Europe. And then we ask you on a sliding scale how much you care that your therapist or coach matches your culture or religion, and what language would you like your session in?
I really love the presentation. Thank you so much for that. I just had one quick question, and that's on verification of some of these therapists.
Yeah.
I've seen some other apps, they're not so, right?
Yeah.
So what differs with you?
Yeah. So I interview every single one of them. Most of the platforms don't. So I've interviewed over 200 therapists and coaches now. I have a degree in psychology, so I think I can help kind of, interview them more. But we also check all their certificates and insurances. We also pay double what BetterHelp pays, which means BetterHelp therapists are really inexperienced because they've just graduated. So yeah, we pay them better, which means we get better therapists. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, and last but by no means least, we have one last startup, VoxMind. Saritha, would you like to come here? Give her a big round of applause.
Would you believe if I tell you who you are without just looking at you? Now, imagine, just by the sound of a voice, we can usually tell who is speaking to us. So, of course, personal security has evolved to combat fraud, from lock and key to physical fingerprint, to passwords, to pins, to face recognition, and finally to a voice. But since we have entered voice recognition technology, we face few challenges like AI voice cloning. And in addition, face recognition for routine KYC process is unsatisfactory. It can be hit or miss, meaning frustration for banks and customers. At VoxMind, we have introduced the next generation of identity verification, making it far easier and much more secure. Think about it. No more frustrating loud passwords or even awkward stares into cameras. You can speak any phrase naturally in any language. Our voice print solution extracts the unique voice biomarkers. Voice authentication not only enhances security, but is also more efficient, time-saving, and cost-effective. Our subscription business model offers 3 options: growth, business, and enterprise, all depending on the number of API calls the company makes. Your voice reveals everything what your eyes can't see. Join us as we make life simpler by creating convenient and more secure way to prove exactly who you are. And the final, with our product, we really would like to help people who doesn't lie at all, like politicians, Thank you.
Great presentation, very true about all that. I was going to say about how do you ensure that it's actually accurate? And I know it's a small thing, but people's voices sometimes do change. So how does that, I guess, work?
Yeah, I have done my PhD. I graduated in 2021 from the University of Greenwich. So the idea comes from my PhD thesis. So it doesn't matter how you speak, and whether you have a cold, fever, or anything, you just pick up a phone and you tell, oh, you have a cold. So we can actually pick up. So whether you are actually having a cold or someone is pretending to be you. So with my research, I can identify you 99%, but I'm still trying to be 100, and I can identify you under 3 seconds or maybe less.
Can you elaborate a little bit on the business model and how you plan on monetizing the technology?
Yeah, we have 3 business models, growth, business, and enterprise, depending on the number of API calls you make. So we are currently having a meetings with the HSBC, Delta Capital, and the Deutsche Banks. So we already have a MVP now. So we're still adding few more test cases to make sure that we are getting right feedback and make sure it's working properly. So depending on your enterprise, so for example, HSBC is a huge enterprise, so it fall into enterprise category. So if you make more than 1 million API calls, so the growth is 1 to 1 lakh API calls, and if it is more than 1 lakh, it will fall into business. If it is more than 1 million, it fall into enterprise. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, great presentation. This is obviously a massive issue. Lots of money has been lost. I just really like to, so how would it work? So say I work for HSBC, someone calls me, is there like an app on my phone to make that it will kind of say like, with like an email, it kind of has a little thing saying this is...
So you know how HSBC came up with my voice is my password in 2016, but later in the same year in Scotland, twin brother acted as his brother and made an online transaction. It's not me saying, like BBC had reported that issue and it was public as well. So my voice is my password. Anyone, if I know you, and if I can practice, I can imitate that voice exactly how you say it. So with my technology, my voice is, you don't need to say it. You can say it in any language, in any way, so it will recognize you. So in the starting, registration is 30 seconds. So you just have to read some paragraph, whatever it display on your thing. And then whenever you do online transaction next time, you just have to say anything in any language, or you don't need to say anything. You just can make some noise. It will recognize you. So the idea comes from basically when you are a kid, so we don't know how to speak. We learn mother and father before learning alphabets, if that makes sense. So the way I make sound, my father or mother will understand what I'm trying to say, whether I'm hungry or not. So as a human being relationship, communication doesn't have to be in words. You just make some sound, I can actually understand what you are trying to say. So that's the whole point of it. So if you don't want to say anything to identify you, you can just make some weird noises, then we can still identify you.
Do you want me to? I mean, I'll just one last thing. That was
Sorry.
Great. But I can see a lot of ways that you could probably get into the media with what you're doing. Yeah. We should talk after, because I'm aware that we're way over the 3 minutes. But yeah, great to connect after.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Give it up for... Excellent. Oh, the clicker is here. So those are our 6 companies participating today. And what we like everyone to do now is to, again, if you didn't scan the code before, this is the time to scan it. And this is when the vote starts. So please choose one company that you think is your favorite. And we will be announcing it shortly. But before, we're going to have a bit of time with our amazing judges to ask them a few questions. So Craig is going to first have a little chat with them, and then we'll pass on for audience questions. When we do audience questions, I'm going to bring the microphone to everybody, and that's important because we have the filming microphone here. So just you'll raise your hand, and I'll come to you. There we go.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Gabriel, and congratulations to all the pictures today. That was really impressive, really great work. So, guys, we're going to open up to a kind of public Q&A for about 10 minutes or so, but I just want to kind of open with a couple of kind of initial questions. So, obviously tonight we've had some quite deep tech stuff. We're talking voice biomarkers, like we've gone quite deep with stuff. So, at the same time as we're kind of telling people, like, hey, they should be sending us, like, snappy, concise pitches, like, how do they get all this kind of detailed deep information over to you, is that normally something that like you would request from them? Like, should they stick with the original pitch and then send that on request, or do you have any tips for how people can kind of share data with you or share any insights that they think you might find interesting?
It's very much, for me, it's on a case-by-case basis, really. If you can email and I'm sort of grabbed by a hook, you know, something interesting that you've told me, and I can think about how, you know, that's warrants further discussion, then great. I think also just kind of, I think it was, as I was saying before, developing a relationship. So a few of these, for example, I think it was, is it Luna, the social media one? Is that the right one? Have I got that right? Yeah. Yep, okay. For example, if I'm writing a story about social media, I need people for comment, and someone like the founder of Luna would be great to go to. So I could go to them and say, look, I'm not going to write about your company right now, but I'd love to hear your opinion on this, and it, you know, might get a line in there and some good publicity. So that's quite a good way of developing it, and from that maybe we'll go for a coffee or whatever, and then you can tell me more. I don't know why I keep talking about, I don't even drink coffee, to be honest. So I don't know why I said that. Tea, a nice cup of tea, green tea. Yeah, I think it's just developing a relationship, and then we can sort of get into it. I think that, for me, that's the best way of doing it, because I do get so many pitches every day. It's kind of hard to go through each and then go into the detail. So events like this that will now go for the tea. So.
Fantastic. Thanks, Jim.
I can't really remember the question.
So
now.
the question was, you know, when we're dealing with very kind of detailed stuff, like how do people kind of find a good balance between catching your attention and being concise, but then also kind of sharing some of that meatier stuff?
Yeah, I think like leading with the impact rather than trying to explain everything that you're doing is a useful way of keeping it concise. So thinking about, you know, who you're like, you know, are you going to change the way that an industry works? Like put that in there, and then maybe explain how everything works in the body of the text, so that it's very clear what the kind of meat of the article would be. Because usually I'm not going to be writing an article like, this startup exists, this is what it does. It's going to be something about like a little bit more deep. So yeah, just thinking about it in that way rather than just in the kind of like cell of what the company specifically does.
Perfect, thanks.
Yeah, sort of, I'd echo what both Jim and Sophia said, but I guess I'd add as well, it really helps if you personalise those pitches, both to the individual outlet, but also to specific journalists and their beats and interests. And as Jim said, it's often that kind of relationship building is really important. We might not cover a product launch or a funding round, but once the startup is on our radar, we might reach out to them for a future story about a broader subject. So I think it's about, building that relationship really helps.
Fantastic.
So everything they said, and then also for me, it's about reacting to a development. So if there's like a new piece of regulation that affects you, or if there's a policy that's out there, or even like a disaster that's happened. So if there's like been a data leak, or like we saw this week, there was the global outage, right? So how did that affect you? Did it affect you at all? How could you like tell your customers to better prepare? Do you know what I mean? Like just try and react to the news, and that's how it will help us, because then that's how it'll help you have a quote, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm writing a story, I mainly want to quote. I don't want to know about your company, to be honest. Let's be frank. I mainly want to know how it's affecting you and your customers, and potentially like other general people who might read the article. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. And just before I pass on to audience questions, I've got another thing which I think people could find quite useful. So, Jim, you mentioned about like, hey, it's about building relationships, about becoming a trusted source effectively, because, as someone that's worked as a journalist before, it's a lot of work finding stories, and, sometimes we do need to put stuff out there and get stuff back from the community. So in the past, we had things like Help a Reporter Out or Harrow, like these sorts of platforms. Since that's been bought by Cision, like it seems to have just died basically. But like I've seen other versions of it. But do you guys have any tips as to like where founders that maybe aren't at this stage of hiring a PR agency and want to kind of do things by themselves, like where can they be finding what journalists are looking for? Or where can they find what you guys are looking for example?
For me, I don't know about everyone else, but it's probably just like Muckrack. You can do that, or just like LinkedIn, or if you like have a specific query. So if it's about like, I want to know what teens, for example, with that Luna app, like, what's affecting teens. So you can look at whoever's written about teen stuff before, and then you can reach out to them. And I guess that will be a bit more targeted than just sort of generalizing it. yeah, that's what it would work for me.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
I got one. It's called Quoted, Quoted. I think it's pretty new, but I used it for a feature I wrote recently, and I got like 10 people getting in contact, and it just saved me that I was on a real tight deadline. And normally I go to sort of normal contacts, or maybe find some company founders and message them on LinkedIn and all that sort of stuff. But this was a really good way, so maybe have a look at that. They're pretty proactive as well. So yeah, that's one.
Yeah, Freelancer. I had used that the other day as well. We also use, some of my colleagues use Response Source. Also just general like hashtag Jenna request on Twitter, X, etc. And then I guess potentially joining like Facebook groups, they still exist, Telegram chats about certain things that your company's related to. Often we'll kind of go into those and be like, hey, we're writing about this specific thing. Do you know anyone? Do you know anything? That kind of, so kind of going straight to where the stuff is happening and being active in the community is also useful.
Fantastic. Some really good tips there. I'd really recommend everyone to keep an eye on those different channels because, you know, as we kind of say to our clients a lot of the time, it's like, it's supposed to be a back and forth relationship, right? So you have to kind of demonstrate to a journalist that you have interesting things to talk about, that you're a good source of information, but that you don't necessarily always get to talk about exactly what you want to talk about, which is your product. So the more that you open yourself up to being a source of information to people, the more likely you're going to have conversations or coffees or teas or whatever where you can talk a little bit more about what your company's doing. So thanks guys.
Okay, so now we have time for audience questions. So would anybody like to ask a question here? And I'm going to start here, then move on over there, and then over there. All right, so Gabriel.
In the opening, both Thomas and Sophia, you mentioned have a really great subject line and potentially first opening line. Are there any subject lines and opening lines that you've recently received that immediately stand out in your mind as being excellent?
No.
Or can you give an example of what you mean by that?
I mean, I don't know, just saying like, because we're not like news driven at Digital Frontier, we're like very features focused. So I guess just kind of, like what I was saying before about talking about the impact. So like, oh, you know, we're a company that's, you know, changing the way that something is being done, or, you know, that kind of thing. It's very hard because it's like very rare that you see something good to know. That's kind of one of the big gripes. I don't know if you have any words of wisdom.
I could give two specific examples because they're unread emails in my inbox precisely for those reasons. One is upcoming Google DeepMind AI for football announcement. DeepMind, a company that I followed and been interested in, AI a subject, my main beat, and football a personal interest. And then another one that I just received today, Data Wallets by Sir Tim Berners-Lee for, I'm sure many of you know, Sir Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the World Wide Web. That name immediately caught my eye. Inside email, there was an offer of an interview. So yeah, those are two that really just received in the last few days.
Maybe I got one thing. Two things actually. First of all, make sure I would always personalise it. So hi Jim, don't do sort of hi John and stuff like that. I've got that loads of times, but just, you know, it's like, oh, okay. And then I would say have a look. So you're pitching to me, but you're not really pitching to me. You're pitching to my readers. So look at who I'm writing for, right? So if it was the Daily Mail before, it skews older. They're sort of maybe slightly Luddite-ish, you know. They don't know as much about tech. So think about how you can make it as broad as possible for my particular audience, and how you can kind of link it to something that's going on at the moment. For more trade publications, you can be a bit more niche. So look at something, but look at the journalists, what they're writing and who they're writing for, and how you can tailor it to that. Yeah.
Okay, question on this side.
Hey, so I know you all have your individual kind of niche and your focus, especially to Reuters. I do read Reuters quite a bit. I'm pretty sure I've seen a few of your articles. However, you have people here who are founders who are very deserving of a story. They work very, very hard, more than what I work, for example. However, sometimes it does have to fit a trend or not a narrative, but like, you know, where are things going, and that makes it a lot more. There's a lot more engagement in that way, etc. So it's not just about how good does someone do something or how, you know, impactful are they in your one area. I guess my question is, how much to an extent would you promote something just based on that it fits a certain kind of mega trend or a direction of public opinion, for example, or against public opinion, which is equally as engageful?
Do you want to go for it? Oh, well, thank you so much. I would say that it's mainly about sort of the trends and public opinion. At the end of the day, for us, on our back end, we're looking at what people are searching for, SEO stuff on our end in order to stay relevant within the news cycle, because we're also competing with other news, right? So we want to be able to write something that's not only interesting, but relevant and current and fresh. So I would say if you're going to pitch to like a big publication, it wouldn't really be about, oh, we've got, you know, the best in class in blah, you know, like, no, it's not about that. We don't really care. It's how you are addressing a specific need that is either unique or like completely different to whatever it is that's going on in your industry, or that can be a thing that propels a new like sector or a new way of thinking. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, I would say that the most closest to startups that I see is mainly within my ESG spotlight that I write about, and that's when it targets a specific like ESG concern and need in like one area. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, just keep it niche.
Excellent. So more questions are going to come on this side.
Do we have any more responses to that one? Or
I'll do a quick one.
Sure.
I was just thinking then, because so for the Mail is a quite a good example. You could have an amazing story, and it wouldn't go in because it's not relevant to what's going on at the moment. You could have a slightly crap one, and it will go in just because they're interested in that topic at that time. So, yeah, I think, and it doesn't have to be just about the fundamental thing behind this company. It could be research that you've done, or how to link it to something that's going on. But I think really it has to be linked to something in the news, for me anyway, and that's coming from a sort of newspaper, that sort of background.
Excellent. We're ready for the next question? Perfect. So we're going on this side.
Hi, thanks very much. That's been fascinating. I just wondered, have you heard of Synapse Media? You didn't mention that before, did you? Did I miss? No. Have you heard of that? Can you hear me? Sorry. Do I have to move forward? Okay. Now I'm putting myself on the spot. Synapse Media is a stories marketplace. I started using it, actually. I'm a TV producer, PR and publicist and a journalist, but not a regular journalist. But I just wondered if anyone's used the stories marketplace, and if you have, how you found it. Because so far it's a new marketplace, and a lot of the key PR people like Mark Bolkowski and actually the Mirror's just joined the board as well. So it's becoming a place for a destination for storytelling and journo requests. Yeah, that's it. Sorry.
I haven't personally heard of it, but I'll look into it for sure. Yeah, it sounds useful.
Okay, questions? So we got one here, and then we go to the back, and then...
Hi there. I've actually got an PR question. So I work in Mediatek, and I'm really interested in hearing about how you guys, how you feel and think about the potential of your images or words that you write being faked or manipulated, because we kind of live in that era now. And some of you, so you do features, but there's also news involved there. And there's a big risk around having content that's meant to be true taken and manipulated. Have you heard of C2PA, for example, and sort of what's happening in your respective publications about this? To put you on the spot.
Yeah, that is... do you know what? Almost I wouldn't mind if it happened, because I could write a first-person piece and it'd be quite interesting, right? But I haven't really personally I haven't thought about it too much. I probably should, as someone who's a technology writer, I should probably sort of think about it. But the things you mentioned I haven't heard of, and yeah.
Okay, look into Tickbox. It's the company that I founded, and basically what we do is help creatives protect their provenance. So it's labeling so that you can distinguish between deepfake and real content, and it also adds sort of copyright assertion so that your content isn't scraped and used for copyright purposes later on.
That is interesting. I'll just say, because I mean, Work for the Daily Mail newspaper more so than Mail Online, but obviously Mail Online and a lot of the big websites nick a lot of stories from trade publications and kind of just redo the top line. So I'd be interested to know how it works with that, because there is a lot of kind of close to copyright infringement by just nicking these stories. So yeah, interesting.
Looking forward to catching up.
Yeah.
Okay, one question here.
Okay, so I'm a startup founder, and I think lots of us are, and we'd probably all love a story written about us. So my question is about timing. When's the right time to approach people like yourselves? Is it, when I'm still in the idea stage or still building it, and I want to kind of get some buzz around it before I launch? Is it after I launch? Is it when I'm making money? And then on that, also, I know the timing. A lot of you mentioned that you want a story that's never been told before, or that's not out there. So, as a startup founder, how do I make sure that I'm giving my story to the right person? What if I give my whole story to someone and 5 people read it, and then I miss the chance to get it in an even bigger publication? So, yeah, I'd love some ideas on that. Thanks.
I'll go first again, sorry, quickly. I would say on that last point, it doesn't really matter if you get into a publication. Only 5 people read it, you've got your name out there. That won't stop me in a different publication, in a different industry, from still being interested. If anything, I might pick up on that and then get in contact, because you're already out there. The key thing is, I guess, getting your name out there as quick and as early as possible, if you can. But be realistic in the fact that, national newspapers, big publications won't be interested in you before you've really gone to market, or before you have a great product. But there might be trade publications or smaller ones that could see that and see that's the seed of something big, and get onto it early. So it kind of depends what sort of media you want to get into. But I would say don't dismiss anyone in terms of just getting yourself out there, and think of quite fun, original ways of getting yourself in there. It doesn't have to be the most amazing, forward-thinking, crazy topic. It could just be quite a fun line. I've done stories which is just off, I don't know, something quite silly. I can't think of anything at all. But I don't know, I actually got nothing. But it's like a silly bath for a dog. It's nothing new, but there could be a fun thing within that.
On the timing thing, I would say if you're an idea, maybe it's too early for. But if you're in beta phase, I think that's probably enough kind of proof that it's working. You need a proof of concept. You can't just be like, I have this really innovative plan. But yeah, so I think early but not too early, basically.
Yeah, I'd agree with both those. I suppose it sort of depends on the stage you're at, and the outlet you target are going to be linked. Reuters and the Mail are going to go for the big stories, but a smaller niche outlet like ours might cover a startup launch. So yeah, you might get lesser coverage from a smaller title, but maybe at this earlier stage, it's a better route into the media for you.
Okay, brilliant. So can we give a round of applause for our judges today? Now, I'm afraid we've run out of time for questions, but you're all welcome to stay a little longer if you like and meet our community. But if we are approaching the moment of truth. And the first thing to do is to announce the audience winner. And we have a cheeky bottle of bubbles for the audience winner. So, Craig, you want to bring the bottle and we'll announce. Okay, so can I maybe hear a little drum roll? Great, this is what I wanted. Bring the energy. So, the winner of our audience vote is Sonia from Tala Thrive. Big round of applause. Congratulations. Get the bottle. Okay, and so I will now hand the microphone to Craig, who's going to do the final announcement and the top 3.
Fantastic. So, thank you again to the judges. Some really good responses there. So we're also going to have some time to chat afterwards. If anyone has any questions for them or for me, please just come and have a chat to us. We're all super excited, and I hope I haven't just flashed these 2 people the back of my notepad and showed them who is the winner for today. So we're going to announce the top 3. So starting off, number 3, coming in 3rd place today, we have Joint, JESR, and VoxMind. So, congratulations. Well done. Okay, and number 2. So coming in second place, congratulations, we have Luna. And then finally, in first place, we have Tala Thrive.
Congratulations, Sonia. So the audience does agree with the judges today. We had 70 votes, over 70 votes voting in this. Yeah, and you got over over 50% of the votes today. So congratulations to Sonia and congratulations to everybody. Because I think that the quality of pitches today was really good. We really commend people for coming and standing up on stage. And, giving a 2-minute pitch is not easy for anybody, especially, when you are in front of journalists, in front of different kind of everybody here kind of watching you. So we had over 21 companies applying to pitch. And we also thank them for applying. Some of them are here because we invited them to turn up anyway. And we will be inviting them in future to pitch future events. So thank you all for applying, and thank you, thanks to Publicize for providing the prize. And so before we move on to the next part of the event, remember we are going to actually send you a link as soon as we publish the next event. But it's on the 22nd of August. It's a social mixer, so it's going to be more networking, less content, but it's going to be very fun, and it's going to be we're going to have VCs as guest feature in a very short panel with them. But it's going to be a great opportunity to connect with the community, hosted by Howard Kennedy. So it's going to be great. So you get the link, and when you get the link, if you enter the code VIP on the promo code, you get a free ticket as part of our community and for coming to the event today. So just remember that. So if you're looking to pitch at a future event, there is a QR code. You can always submit applications. We're always looking to actually bring people to speak or bring people to pitch. So yeah, if you need the code, just approach me later and I'll give you the code as well. Now on to networking and drinks. So thank you everybody for coming. Enjoy the drinks, enjoy the networking. Make sure you connect with everybody, and come back next time.